Alright, this is a Kahan TV sports break. We have to do this on the go again today. First of all, congratulations to all you living beings out there. We've made it through another month. It's already freaking May. Can you believe how fast this year is flying by? But one thing that did not make it to May was the LA Clippers season. Out! After losing Game 7 yesterday, they played an absolutely terrible game. Never in it after the first half. But we all knew to stick a fork in them after they lost Blake Griffin to injury. And I didn't even want to do this segment originally because we already did a segment after said Blake Griffin injury entitled The End of an Era for the LA Clippers. But that was really just drunken babbling about how we expect ownership to break up this team and how it was so tragic that they never got to make a run through the playoffs completely healthy. But I was talking to my friend Vlad, the NBA expert, yesterday, and he convinced me that I should give my thoughts on what I think the Clippers should do in a somewhat non-drunken, semi-coherent manner. Okay, so first and foremost, yes, I do think they should break up the team. It's sad to say because as a hardcore Clipper fan who's been through the dark days of never making the playoffs and the years where they fought so hard only to miss the playoffs so barely with Elton Brand and Corey Maggette leading the way, to see a team like this one where when we first got CP3, especially beginning in his second season with the team, which was the first season after the lockout, the first full season after the lockout, I mean, they were running up and down the court. Blake was dunking all over people's faces, just humiliating other teams, jumping over people. We had CP3 who was so clutch in crunch time. It was a great time to be a Clippers fan. It was so fun. LobCity, they called us. The problem was that out of the 6 seasons that they've had this team, they've only gotten through the playoffs without significant injuries 2 out of 6 times. That's not good. The 2 seasons that they were full strength, they lost to the Thunder in the second round, and that was a series that they arguably threw away, and they lost to the Grizzlies in the first round. Other than that, injuries derailed them every single time. Sometimes it would be freak accidents, but now it definitely seems Blake Griffin is too injury prone to be relied upon. And he didn't look that good before the injury that he just had after returning mid-season from knee surgery. It wasn't the same Blake that we used to see flying around, dunking all over everyone. He could still be productive, other than the obvious fact that when he's not playing, you literally get 0 contribution from him. So, if I can come to my point here, I am finally admitting that we should break up this team. Sometimes good things must come to an end, and now is the time we finally admit it's over. But the question is, can they break up this team? More specifically, what can they get for Blake Griffin at this point? Because if the Clippers aren't going to get any value back, then there is probably no point in trading him. Will a team give up a big piece to get Blake? Would the Pacers give up Paul George, for example, to get Blake Griffin? Possibly, considering George's contract is up soon. They might as well get something back. I would take Paul George for Blake right now in a heartbeat. Pretty much only because I think he would play, at least. Carmelo Anthony is another possibility. The idea of trading Blake for Carmelo was thrown around at the trade deadline, and in hindsight, they should have pulled the trigger because they couldn't get Blake through the playoffs, so at least they would have had some extra firepower to compete with the Jazz, despite his defensive liability. So, I would trade Blake Griffin. He seems a big enough name and talent that we could get something back for him, but we'll see if anybody bites. I don't want to give him away for nothing, but he's the key. It wouldn't even have to be for an interior player because we already have Jordan there. One big guy is enough. We need a ball handler who can take the pressure off of CP3 and score also. So an outside player seems to be the better fit. Other than that, Redick is going to be gone, whether we like it or not. We're just not going to be able to add the contract he'll want to the payroll. So we're going to need to find an outside shooter to replace him. Probably don't need to spend too much money there. We can find an outside shooter in the bargain bin. But the players that really need to go are Raymond Felton, Mo Spates, and Austin Rivers. Absolutely useless. We need some depth on the bench, and we need it not to be those guys. Raymond Felton, fat poor man CP3, Mo Spates, jacking up threes. Definitely not the hard-nosed Mo Spates we saw in Memphis. And the coach's son, Austin Rivers, they should have never let Doc Rivers trade for his own son. And that's another thing. I don't think Doc Rivers is going to go but I think he should. He's been a terrible GM and hasn't brought in enough help for the core players to make a run this year. If he were a smart GM, he would fire himself as head coach and throw all that money at Quinn Snyder, because he is a legit head coach right now. That's who I want leading my team. Focus and solid team basketball. Doc Rivers is over the hill. He should go home and take his son with him. Sorry to say, but these are the laundry list of problems they got. And Jamal Crawford is getting old. He's probably got to go too. I would keep Mbah Moute, but not as a starter. He could come off the bench. He's too much of a liability on the offensive end, but he's useful. But basically, I would only for sure keep CP3 and DeAndre and build around them. I wouldn't be surprised either way though. There could be trades, but like I said, if no one wants to give us anything for Blake, they could end up keeping him and attempting yet another run with this team. So there's my opinion. We'll see if the Clippers can break the curse of whatever it is that curses them. But first things first, the offseason. Let's see what kind of moves they make. That's all for this edition of Sports Break. We'll see you next time.